Well, hey everyone, it is Thursday, February 20th, and I'm Mallory, which makes this Lunch with Mal. I hope you are all having a fabulous day. I'm coming to grips with the fact that we are now five, six, so that we're 8 weeks into 2025, and that means there's only 10 months left. However, I had some really good news for myself, at least. Hey there, how's it going? SL. It always feels weird to call people by their initials, but and sometimes like I know I should know who the person is, but I'm terrible at like making that kind of connection sometimes. Anyway, it's awesome to have you here. Awesome to have everybody else as well. Um, so Sherry, there we go. Thank you. I love it. I like Sherry's much better than SL or Miss Shule. Um, but there's always like a hair across my forehead. It's always driving me nuts. So I've been focusing really heavily on writing. Hey Len, really heavily on not on writing, on helping other authors with their ads, with their writing, with their blurbs, with all sorts of different things over the even doing cover design and whatnot over the past 4 years. Because for those of you who don't know, I wrote between 2017 and 2021, I wrote about 120 books, and I burned myself out, as one could imagine. And the book that really killed me was My White Whale. It's a 150,000 word book that started off with 16 POVs. I pared it down to 8. It grew back up to 12, pared it down again, and I think it's back at 12 again now. It's going to be 150,000 words long, and it just destroyed me. I couldn't do it. However, in our group, actually, Len's been there. Hey, Barbara and Judy, how are you guys doing? That's book 5 for this year, Sherry. That's amazing. Like that you've written or that you've released because you got them written last year. Anyway, while you answer that, but we're doing writing sprints for people that are part of our community on storytellerlab.net. Um, and doing that has got me to get my book done. So a book that I first started writing in December of 2020 is now finished. Now, granted, I have to go through it because I mean, you write a book over 5 years, chances are there's going to be some discrepancies in there. So I've got to go through, figure all that out. But yeah, I did it. I'm cooking, which unblocks me to do so many other things that I've been wanting to do that I just sort of like wouldn't let myself do until I did this one book, for better or for worse, possibly for worse. So anyway, oh, is that for the new silly sci-fi that you said you were working on, Len? I'm not sure. Released for this year, 3, written is 5. Wow, Sherry, you are crushing it. How long are these? Hey, Rosa, how are you doing? Also, Barbara, it's been so long since I've seen you on. I love that you're able to watch live this week. Um, cool, Len. We'll be sprinting actually for those of you who are in our group. We'll be sprinting in 2 hours as well. Um, not bad, Sherry. Not bad. That's pretty amazing. That's like me back in 2018. I did 44 books in 2018. That was uh, that was an event to do that. I wrote 16 hours a day every day. It was brutal. I had 1 month in 2018 where I did 250,000 words. Never again. I will never do that again. Pardon me. Got like just when as soon as you start talking, that's when you get all the phlegm. Still getting over the sick that plagued our household end of last month, beginning of this. I guess mostly the beginning of this month. Anyway, oh my God. Okay, I think I'm good. I think I'm good. Sorry about that. Hopefully, it's not too triggering to anybody. Yeah, so I'm stoked about that, and that's great though, Len. That's still awesome. Everybody has different things in their lives, right? Like some people are caring for kids, for elderly loved ones, perhaps a spouse. Um, Perhaps your spouse is fully functional and you still find yourself caring for them. Who knows? Um, but our lives are all different. And when I did all that writing, it was because Jill created this bubble around me where I was able to just focus on the writing. So it was as much her as me. And if she hadn't done that, I wouldn't be able to do it. So, and not everybody has the ability to have someone else create a bubble around them, where that person has to do their own work and can't create a bubble, etc., etc. I say all that just because I don't want anyone to think that like it's a competition and they should have to be able to write that much too, because it's not possible for everybody to do stuff like that. We all have different lives, different situations, creative wells are different, all that jazz, different styles of writing, different topics that we write about that can take more or less time to do. So don't ever feel like you need to be doing as much as someone who's just pumping out a ton of novels. That doesn't mean you can't improve. A lot of times when I talk to authors about their productivity, what I really get into is I get into how much time does it take between finishing the rough draft to getting the book out, because ideally you could have that down to a couple of weeks. I mean, I used to be able to do it in about 3 days. From rough draft done to book in reader's hands was 3 days, which is insane. Don't do that, but it is technically possible. It requires you to have like an assembly line, like all the things lined up perfectly. Everything triggers at the exact right moment. The cover was done months ago, all that jazz. It has to be done just so. But yeah, so anyway, I'm really excited. Got that book done. It's unblocked. Now I can work on one of the actually 2 co-authored books, because one of my co-authors also had massive burnout. And he's got a book that's like 80% done. I bet you I could probably kick it over the line. And then Jill's done one that's like Jill's co-author with me as well. And I want to go through that because we're going to be doing a Kickstarter for those later this year. So got a lot going on. Hey, William, how you doing? It's so weird because you're Stacy in Zoom and you're William Stacy here. So I call you Stacy all the time, and then here you're William, and it messes me up. What about pre-orders on such a short release scale? So a lot of these, like when I was doing it crazy back in 2018, that's when Amazon only gave us a $90-day pre-order. So when the week before a book came out, say book 2 is coming out next week, I would put up the pre-order for book 3, get the link, and then put that link into the back of book 2, and I would have 90 days to get the next book written. At one point, I had 13 pre-orders that had to be written within 90 days. So it was hardcore back then. Hey, Monique, it's nice to have you here. All of the how's all the recording going? Are you enjoying it? You are in disguise, William. But yeah, so I'm not. I think that generally speaking, well, the length of your pre-order really depends on your release cycle. If you're releasing frequently, then you shouldn't do super long pre-orders. You should keep them shorter, because on Amazon, you get your rank boost when someone buys the pre-order. You do not get an additional rank boost when the pre-order goes live. Other retailers, you get to double dip. You get a rank boost when someone pre-orders, and you get a rank boost when that transaction goes through when the book launches. But Amazon doesn't give us that, so it actually doesn't really make as much sense to do super long pre-orders on Amazon, because we bleed out our rank over time. But if you're only releasing one book a year and you kind of just want to like big wide net slowly scoop up all of those readers that read book 2 over the course of a year, so when book 3 comes out, they get it, and you're not as worried about rank, you're just worried about like making sure that you capture those readers, then it can work. So it really does depend on your release schedule. Stacy, other Stacy says, I hear you responding to what is I assume chat, but I see totally blank chat area. Is there another chat where everything's taking place? I think pretty much everybody's on YouTube today. No one's chatting from Facebook. However, there are 2 YouTube places where you might end up being. I wonder what this goes to. That's my voice. It's terrible. Yeah, so I'm just going to put this link right in chat. This appears to be, I streamed 2 places on YouTube, so that appears to be where everybody is. So if you're missing out on the chat, you can be there. Hey, Victoria. So it took me a second. I'm like, I know this is not, I know who this is. This is Victoria. I will do a little bit better though about putting people's messages that I'm responding to on screen, like Stacy's, so that it's a little bit makes a little more sense for everybody. I need to be better about that. Monique says, I remember those 90 days. Now I put the pre-order the day before my release of the previous book. A blank link ready in the book and make it live. And the next one goes in pre-order. Yeah, that's how you do it. But yeah, those 90 days were brutal. Plus, there was no forgiveness. Like now you get that 1 month extension you can do. You could do a month extension back then, but if you did it, you lost your pre-order privileges for a year. I lost my pre-order privileges 11 times, and every single time, I messaged KDP. So I would extend the pre-order, lose my pre-order privileges. I would get the book out though within the extension period. And then once it was out, I would message Facebook or Amazon, and I would be like, "Hey, can you, I got the book out a bit late, but it's up now. Could I get my pre-order privileges back?" And I never made any excuses. I never said it was because of this or because of that or anything like that. I just said I was late, lost my privileges. Book's out now. Can I get my privileges back? 11 times, got them back. The 12th time, the person said no. And they're like, "You've got a lot of forgiveness in the past. I think I can't give it to you again this time." I'm like, "Okay, fair. I deserve that." Um, but then like a month or two later is when they switched from 90 days to 1 year for pre-orders, and then I got my privileges back again. And since then, I've done it multiple times again since. So yeah, I'm not against I'm not against working the system. 3 times, never do pre-orders again, still doing them. That's how it works. Yep. It's true. It's true. Yeah, I like for most of 2024, I was experimenting with doing direct sales for my ebooks on Shopify and Wix to see which one worked better. I didn't take my books out of KU to do it. As far as I'm concerned, this is an experiment. Plus, like, I don't know, come at me, Amazon. Please don't come at me, Amazon. I just, in my experience in the past, if you have your books up somewhere you're not supposed to, you're in KU, they email you until you take them down, and I would have done so. But I was just at the same time, I'm like, I'm doing an experiment. I don't know if this is going to work, so I'm going to leave them in KU while I put my books up elsewhere. And it was fine. The interesting thing is, if your books are up on your own website, the only way Amazon's ever really going to know is if someone rats you out. So I actually really appreciate, because I've mentioned this several times on Lunch with Mal and other places, I really appreciate that no one ever ratted me out. You guys are great. Thank you for not ratting me out to Amazon. So yeah. So February's been an interesting month, hasn't it? It's like it's started out strong. We were all feeling pretty good about February, and then we got the January KU rate because until February 15th, we're still riding high on the December KU rate. And generally speaking, November has the best KU rate of the year. December dips down a bit, and then January falls off a cliff. So until February 15th, we're all like, February's looking pretty good. And then we get that updated KU rate and we watch like hundreds of dollars disappear. And then we're like, oh crap. But fear not, February will be better, if you're in KU at least. It will be better than it appears right now, because for the last 7 years, the February KU, no, last 9 years, the February KU rate has come 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Yeah, 9 years. The rate has come up in February from January. Sometimes a lot, sometimes just a little bit, but it is always better. So your reads are worth a little bit more than you think they are right now, if that makes you feel a bit better. But most people I'm seeing a bounce back, because there was a lot of up and down for people especially after January 20th. There were things were like in flux for a lot of people. So I'm seeing things being a lot more consistent now with Facebook ads and KU reads in general. And especially if you're writing raw escapism, especially raw escapism without internal conflict, where most of the conflict is external, you're actually doing really well. Although internal conflict is still doing well too, but the more escapism, the better. The And actually, one of the weirdest things is Dystopian is actually doing all right now in general. I'm just like, really? Like, don't we have enough of that? Um, oh yeah, I hate to say it. I love romance authors. I love all my romance authors. But if there's a genre where someone's going to rat you out for doing something like that, it's romance. Unfortunately, um, I still like being a barbarian raider. It's kind of true. I don't know. I'm just like these billion-dollar corporations don't have my back. Why am I going to bend over for them? But that ties into your risk tolerance with everything. Everything you do as a business owner connects to your risk tolerance. And I'm pretty okay with taking some risks. I'm pretty sure that even if Amazon kicked me out of the nest, I could pull a Michael Scott Earl and rebuild my career um, on my own. Um, Not everyone can do that, but many people have actually managed to do that. Get kicked out of Amazon, either getting kicked out of KU or kicked off Amazon entirely, and they've managed to survive. And some people have managed to even thrive. Um, right? Me too. So I'm actually I'm going to talk briefly about the Facebook ads course that we have coming up. I know a lot of people here are going to be in it already, and some people here might be thinking about being in it. So I want to I'm not going to spend too much time. I'm not going to belabor it, but I just kind of want to give you guys the itinerary of what we have going on. And then the other really cool thing is that, is this going to let me present my screen? The other really cool thing is that it's only $37 for this. If you want to, because basically you just have to be in our course. Let me shift this like this. Boom. You just have to be in storytellerlab.net, even at the basic level, at $37 a month, and you get access to this. You don't get access to our weekly roundtables that we do and whatnot, but you will get access to the live training and weekly Q&As while this course is going on. And I'm planning for the course to last 3.5 weeks with maybe one follow-up Q&A after the New Orleans conference in March that I'm going to. So Jill and I sat down and really thought a lot about the topics we want to cover. And so there's going to be a couple of pre-videos that you can watch to explain how to they walk you through the interface, things like attribution links, all that sort of stuff that you can sort of learn ahead of time. And then the live stuff is going to be a little more nuts and bolts. But one of the things I do want to talk about, though, is risk tolerance. This was actually a perfect segue. I didn't even plan this, but I have really high risk tolerance. I'll do crazy shit. I'll fire up an ad at $100 a day just to see what happens. Not everybody has that kind of risk tolerance. I didn't used to. I didn't start there. I didn't get there overnight. So we actually have like a whole thing about how to evaluate your risk tolerance and to understand and internalize that it's okay for you to have a different risk tolerance than other people, and to do what works for you. Because if you just have like are racked with anxiety because you're firing your ads up at too much money, trying to do what everybody else is doing, that's not going to be good for you. So don't want to do it. We're going to talk about audience. So it's everything on the ad set tab, how to pick your ideal audience, placements, and budget. That actually will take us like an entire hour to go through that in detail with questions talking about all the different genres, what you're going to want to pick. I'm going to walk through many examples of how to pick audiences. We're going to talk about how to do images. So we're going to walk through making images, different ways of doing it. We're mostly going to do this in Canva, but I might see if I can do it just in something really cheap and free as well, because not everybody wants to pay for Canva. So we might do a little bit of that. We're going to have one on this. I copied and pasted Jill's question. I didn't mean to do that. She wrote this as a question. No, it's not a question. We're doing this. We're going to be doing Reels. The advanced course we do later on will have more on Reels, but we will do some basic, like how to make basic video ads that can convert. We're going to talk about dynamic versus standard creative, best ways to write copy and headlines, and then setting up the ad. And then from there, we talk about the life cycle of the ad. And this will be like a week after you make your ads, how to analyze them, how to see if they're working yet or not. Probably more like 5 days actually after you make your first ad. And also just sort of understand, like, every ad dies, not every ad even comes to life, and that's okay. And then there'll be another one where we talk analysis, and I also talk about like a little bit more of that very first session about being brave, running ads, understanding your risk tolerance, being willing to take the risks that you can, and then learning what you can, and having an attitude of this is a dragon I can defeat, versus a dragon that's going to eat me alive after burning me to a crisp. I really want to empower everybody to be able to do that. And a lot of that will be reading the data, understanding if the ad's working, understanding if it's getting traction, understanding if the ad's dying as well. That's going to be something we talk about too, because every ad dies, and you need to be able to spot when that's happening so you don't start just burning money with no result. So that's just a little, for those of you who might be thinking about doing this, there we go, find my stop sharing button here. For those of you thinking about joining in with us, that's something that we have starting next Monday. Yeah, Michael Scott Earl does look like a badass. So you can go to storytellerlab.net. So HTTPS, I should have had this ready to copy and paste in. Storytellerlab.net. Oh, I wrote .nert. If you copy that, correct it to .net and not .nert. But you can sign up $37, and it bills monthly from when you start. So if you sign up this weekend, that $37 should cover you till the end of the course. Now, of course, you can stay for additional months if you want and learn more things. The advanced course will start not too long after the basic one ends for Facebook ads. We have a bunch of other things happening this year. And there's also a bunch of pre-recorded courses, plus our awesome community that you can stick around for. So come for this class, stay for the community, and hanging out with a bunch of cool authors. Did anybody have any questions about things that are going on right now, things about their ads? If you're not currently in a member of storytellerlab.net, then yeah, you'd have to pay to access it again, because it's all new, all new content, all new work that I've done to produce it. If you took it last year, it's still going to be pretty relevant what you've learned. There's not like a boatload of new stuff in there, but there is some new stuff. But also, this is the cheapest we've ever done this for, $37. So hopefully that's an okay number for money. Like, I don't think I've ever taught a Facebook ads course for this little. So I'm really happy that we're able to do it, because we have so many people now that have signed up for Storyteller Lab. We can offer this for way cheaper than we've ever done before, and make it. Don't judge my nerds. I don't even know what a nerd would be in this case. But yes, no judging the nerd. But yeah, did anyone have any ads questions or any publishing questions in general? Something that's worth mentioning that came up in our roundtable earlier this week was how Amazon is changing things with users being able to download their ebooks. I think there's some confusion around that. They put out, you might have seen a notice in some places and some emails and some conversations about it. What you can do until I think the end of the month when they take it away is you still on Amazon.com, go to your ebooks, download them, and then transfer it over a USB cable to your Kindle device. They're doing away with that. And the way it's worded, it's a little bit hard to tell if they're doing away with the USB transfer to your Kindle device, or if they're doing away with that and the ability to download the EPUBs. If you use a Kindle app on your phone, on an iPad, or you have a Kindle device, it does not affect your ability to have all of your books available. The only thing it affects is people who want to manually download it and then transfer it to their Kindle device, or possibly manually download it and have it as a backup. So nothing really to worry about. And I also think that, if any readers are concerned about it, you can just say hey, give me proof of purchase and I'll just send you an EPUB. Because I think I've done that before for readers. I have some readers who just they don't want to read. They have other apps they prefer to read on their computer or something like that. So they've done that for lots of readers, actually. Any thoughts on the next uber popular genre wave? I don't know. I don't have a great crystal ball when it comes to that sort of thing. I think that most of the popular genres, the waves tend to align with social issues and social awakenings, for the really big ones. And then there's smaller ones that sort of align with TV shows and stuff like that. like after in the sci-fi realm, after The Expanse came out on TV, there was a big sort of surge of Expanse like shows, or sorry, books. I mean that were doing quite well. Um, I always it's almost always the really big ones are almost always a subset of romance or a subset of women's fiction, um, with thrillers kind of running a close second. But the thing I think is really worth noting is that all super popular books are all like the biggies that sort of set and define these movements. They're all genre mashups, like Harry Potter, wizards in modern day England, um, with Academy mashup. Hunger Games, dystopian romance, but like gladiator games. So it's a little bit less of a mashup, but still definitely a mashup. I think there was a number of mashup elements in Hunger Games as well. ACOTAR, huge mashup. I mean, the entire romantic fantasy thing is a mashup of genres. And the better you can do that, the more masterfully you can pull off that mashup, the better off you're going to be. So there's always like oftentimes there's like a trendsetter, like because romantic fantasy has been around forever since before ACOTAR, but there's oftentimes this trendsetter that that defines a new supergenre like that. And usually that trendsetter is a wide book. It's very hard to be a trendsetter when you're in KU because like the vast majority of readers only read 3 books a year. And they only read things that they can like pick up at the grocery store kind of thing. Like that's the vast majority of readers. And whatever book captures those, what they're called the casual readers, whatever book captures the casual reader becomes the book that creates a new sort of uber popular genre wave, like Victoria put it. So that's what you really want to watch out for. You want to watch out for like what is the new thing that's on grocery store shelves that's selling really well, and chances are that's the thing that's going to define a new genre. Now, not always. Like paranormal women's fiction, which has sort of already come and gone. That one never had that happen. But again, it wasn't as big as stuff like ACOTAR, Hunger Games, 50 Shades of Grey. Like that movement of PWF, paranormal women's fiction, never hit that size. So the top of the line stuff is the sort of thing that you're going to like. For us, you go and Stop and Shop or Shaw's and you see it. So that's my thoughts on that. And for me, by the way, just going back to that last question, for me, I write what I want to write, but I'll tweak it to maybe kind of fit some trends. When I made my Aeon 14 universe, I deliberately made a universe big enough for me to write any genre inside of it. When I say big, I mean big. I mean I write stuff that takes place 9,000 around the year 9,000, so 7,000 years in the future, and humanity has expanded to the point where they actually fill about 7% of the galaxy, which is, I don't know, what's the current estimation? Something like 15 billion stars. So there's a lot that can happen across 15 billion stars. Anyway, so I made it big. They want to let you sideload. Well, it's on the Kindle device itself, not on the Kindle app running on a phone. Kindle app running on a phone, unaffected. It's the Kindle device itself. Now, if you can still get the EPUBs of any book. You can there's programs, apps, what have you, to take every Kindle book on your phone, whether it's a KU book or a book you bought, and pull it down and save it. So you could totally do that. All right. So William says, what is the profit point for AMS as? For example, if you can make a profit on 3 books in a series, or better yet, 4 or more. I mean, it depends on how you run them. So I'm kind of miserly with AMS ads. I won't bid more than 30 cents a click. So at 30 cents a click, you can be profitable with a 3 to 4 book series, provided it converts well. If you're bidding like the defaults, like 70 to $100 to $1 per click, it's going to take like a 7 to 8 book series to be profitable there, with good read through and good conversion. I actually have a method I call AMS ads for lazy authors. It's in storytellerlab.net. There's a whole like 2.5 hour video on it. Although in our roundtable, I also did like a quick walkthrough a couple weeks ago as well, which I think you were there for that, Stacy. But if you basically, the rule of thumb is if you have a series that's 3 books or longer, and you can get your ACost, your average cost of sale, under 300%, chances are that the ad's going to be profitable. But only if you have decent read through, like 30 to 40% from book 1 to book 2, and then 60 or better percent from book 2 to book 3. Then that 300% ACost will work. Also, provided you're not doing a lot of print sales. If you're getting a lot of print sales on AMS, then you need that ACost to be a lot, like under 200%, because we only make about 30 to 40% on print sales, whereas with ebooks you're going to make 70%. So I tend to do it more on ACost though. And the other sort of angle too with AMS, and I've done this by taking AMS ads and just turning them off to see what happens. Because you'll have AMS ads you're like looking at, you're like, I spent $1,000 and I made $700. This seems bad, right? You turn them off, boom, $1,500 to $2,000 goes away in your royalties. So the rule of thumb I've worked out is that AMS is generally doing about twice as much as it says it's doing. And there's a whole host of reasons why it can miss tracking events. Some of it's human behavior, just the fact that people might see a book and then they on their phone and then they buy it on their PC or vice versa. Some of it's like technical things behind the scenes for why not everything gets tracked. But the rule of thumb is AMS is doing about twice as good as it says it's doing. So you can also just kind of look at your numbers and be like, if I'm making it at least half of what I'm spending, then I'm breaking even. And if I'm making more than I'm spending, I'm printing money at that point. So that's kind of how I do it in this sense. What about book funnel books? Those are all fine. Those won't be affected by the Amazon downloading thing. That's completely separate. Stacy says, yeah, there are indie trends and industry-wide trends, and they aren't always the same. Yes, in reference to what I was talking before. That makes sense. The TikTok trends are the real market movers. That is definitely becoming a thing. But TikTok tends to move things within a trend. So the trend gets defined, like ACOTAR defined, the political intrigue, romantic fantasy in a gas lampy-ish kind of setting, and then TikTok moves things inside of that. I've not seen strong evidence that TikTok has defined any new major trends. I could be wrong on that. It's entirely possible I've missed something. And I wouldn't be surprised if it does at some point. I just don't know of anything. Hunger Games, ACOTAR. For those who don't know, it's a Crown of Thorns and Roses or something like that. I've been saying ACOTAR so long, I forget what the actual title of the book is. And things like that, and 50 Shades of Grey. Like, I don't think TikTok's made anything that big yet, but it totally could happen. Yeah, it is. It's pretty big. And again, I've tested this, like I said, by just myself testing it, turning off the AMS ads and just seeing what happens. And I've also had clients who are like, I don't think they're making enough money. And I'm like, I think they are. And they're like, no, I'm going to turn them off. And they turn them off. And they're like, you were right. I lost twice as much as I thought I would lose in my royalties. So I've been through that a number of times to prove that one out. Yeah, I feel like Fourth Wing falls inside of the ACOTAR bubble, just to a certain extent, although it's kind of eclipsing it now, which also can absolutely happen. But yeah, in certain genres, there's certainly no ignoring what TikTok can do. It's pretty powerful. I'm glad we didn't lose it. Like I have issues with TikTok's data security and the things they do with data. Some people think it's all smoke and mirrors and just people posturing, but TikTok employees have done some bad things with the data they've collected on users. And that's just the employees, not to say what any governments with access to the data have done. So there is that concern with TikTok, but at the same time, I'm like, this is people's livelihoods now at this point. We can't just shut it off, that's just unacceptable. So I'm glad that TikTok stuck around. I'm enjoying this conversation. Anybody have anywhere else they want to take it? For me, I guess for those of you who weren't here at the beginning, I was talking about how I finished a book for the first time in 4 years. Um, I have a really hard time doing creative work and business work, especially because I spend most of the day doing business work on people's ads, consulting with authors, all sorts of like that, and just like it's very creative, problem-solving work. And so then the creative well is oftentimes dry when it comes to the writing. And I have other hobbies that I want to enjoy. But with the writing sprints we've been doing in our Storyteller Lab group, and for those who are curious, the way we do them is I run them actually on YouTube. It's an unlisted YouTube video that people inside our community get the link to. We sprint for 20 minutes. I talk for 20 minutes. We sprint for 20 minutes. I talk for 20 minutes. People say how many words they got on each 20-minute sprint, and then we do it for 2 or 3 hours straight. And you can like that a 3-hour session goes by like that, and most people are getting like 2,000 to 3,000 words easy in that time frame. I am actually one of the slower writers, so you don't have to feel bad. You'll be like, oh, I don't want to say how many words I got, and you're like, because you're sitting there thinking I only got like 450, and I'm like, I got 230 words in 20 minutes, and you're like, oh God, well, I don't have to feel bad about my count anymore because Mal didn't do as well as me. Yeah, I'm a slow writer. It's kind of crazy, but I got that book done, and I'm so excited because I want to do more Kickstarters. I really want to do more Kickstarters. But I couldn't do any of them until I got this book done. And I think this year is going to continue to be a really big, like Kickstarter is going to continue to be a really big thing. There's so many authors last year who had 6-figure Kickstarters. And I've never had a 6-figure Kickstarter, but I've also never Kickstarted a new fiction book before. Everything I've done is Kickstarting an audiobook version or like the 10th anniversary edition of my first book and stuff like that. So I'm pretty stoked to Kickstart something new. The Kickstarter that we're going to do first, I don't know that it'll do that well because it's a spin-off. It's for a spin-off of a spin-off. Yeah, a spin-off of a spin-off. In my main sort of trunk line of books. But I'm also going to do another one for following my main trunk line. I'm going to do a Kickstarter for that, for a bunch of new books in there. I think that's actually going to do pretty well. So I'm stoked about that. I think that's still going to be like the way to go for a lot of stuff. Stacey, new to the community, excited for sprints. Yeah, we're doing the sprints today. They're usually Monday, Thursday, Friday. The time fluctuates a bit depending on my schedule. But today we're doing 2 p.m. Eastern to 4 p.m. Eastern. And the link is in School. For those of you who are in there, you can go to School, go to the calendar, the link will be in there. And you can get in on that. So it'll be in an hour and 20 minutes, basically. So not that far off. Yes, shifting mental gears is super hard. What do I write? Don't you know what I write, Stacey? Oh my goodness. I write books. I write space opera and military science fiction. I'll bring something up so you guys can see. Lost. It's also I'm one of those people, like I write in a let's try and get the book to come up here. Lost Colony Ship. There we go. Also going to type the word ship properly. I write in a subgenre of a subgenre kind of thing because I write female leads, oftentimes queer female leads in military science fiction. So it's smaller, but I've done pretty well. This is why actually when people say like they say like, can I make it in my subgenre? I'm like, I've made $2 million selling books, with female leads in military science fiction. So I feel like anybody can actually make money in their genre. But it did take me 4 years to figure out how to reach my readers. So it is no simple thing to do this. But this is this is the first book. This is actually the first book I ever finished. Because I started writing when I was like 10 years old, but never actually like finished a book. I did finish a couple of fan fiction books. One of them was like even like 70,000 words long. But this is the first book of my own that I actually ever finished writing. It was not the first one I published, but it was the first I finished, and it's still going strong. I'm not advertising this one anymore. I'm actually kind of curious. Is anyone buying it? Yeah, 162,000. So it's getting a couple a day at this point. I'm actually going to be starting up a new advertising run for this series tomorrow, because I'm going to use this as some of the examples for things that we're doing in the class. But yeah, that's what I write. I guess I'm kind of over top of it, but you can see it well enough, I'm guessing. Stacy says, I'm using community science prints. Oh, you already read that. That's right. Len and I, we're the turtles. We're turtling along. Can you chat about when to decide to do a Kickstarter? So Kickstarters, they do best when you have something new. Now, you don't need a massive built-in audience. If you want to get 6 figures, you're probably going to need an existing audience. But I know authors who, for the very first book they ever wrote, did a Kickstarter and made $4,000. So it is possible to do brand new person and kickstart something. Now, to do that, they had to beat the streets. They were trying to get every Tom, Dick, and Harry they knew to back their Kickstarter to get those numbers up. It's not like a build it and they will come sort of thing, but you can do that. Ideally, Kickstarters work best when you're offering something exclusive, and that was the big push for me. Even when I did my audiobook Kickstarter, anybody that backed at a certain level would get a print edition that was exclusive. I printed 100 of them, and when the 100 were gone, that was it. I would never use that. That edition would never be printed again. That cover art would never be used again. And then I did the same thing again when I did my 10-year anniversary one. I didn't have a preset limit when I did that one, but I'm never doing another run of that. It's like, you get this 10-year anniversary book, and if you don't, then you never will, unless you manage to buy it from someone who already has it. So I like doing exclusive, and that's the stuff that works the best, because a lot of people don't have a strong desire to read books in print, but a collector's item is an entirely different story. And if it's gorgeous, then people will jump on that. So I also think that ideally, the best way to do it is when you can offer more than one book. So a Kickstarter for a trilogy or something like that is ideal. And not all of them have to come out right away. They can come out on a set schedule. So, the Kickstarter ends, and then book 1 comes out a month later. So, of course, depending on where you are with the writing, it might take a bit to get proofs and make sure all that stuff's good. So you set your time frame accordingly, you communicate that clearly. And then, book 2 comes out 4 months later. Book 3 comes out 4 months after that. As long as you're communicating clearly, that's fine. Like Brandon Sanderson, when he did his big Kickstarter, it was for books that would be released over a couple of years when he did it. So it doesn't have to all be ready right away. It'd be awesome to have you come in for a little bit, Jared. Len. I almost called you Jerry. I'm not sure why. Len Berry turned into Jerry in my head. Soccer league kiddo. Well, that'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, you can always leave, come back whenever you need to, join late. All that stuff works. Tomorrow, today's sprint is school. So today's sprint is 2 to 4 Eastern, and then tomorrow's is also 2 to 4. But usually Fridays are actually a little bit earlier. But I had to shuffle some calls around, so I wasn't able to do Fridays exactly when I wanted to. Fun side note, by the way. Alyssa, okay. Our daughter is helping us with a bunch of managing a bunch of stuff now, and she was shocked that we don't have a logo for the sprints. So she made this little logo for us, a little pencil and a person running towards the pencil. So that in school now there's a logo, because before the writing sprints were just like there was no picture there. So she made one and went through and made sure that they all have little pictures. That's how she rolls. So Monday sprints are at 10 a.m. Eastern. So that'll be Monday the 24th. Sprints at 10 a.m. Eastern, and then 2 p.m. we kick off the Facebook ads course that we'll be running. So lots happening next week. Like next week, like the Facebook ads, it's be lunch with Mal, then writing the Facebook ads course, then writing sprints on Thursday. It's going to be a busy day. Yeah, she's clever. I love her. She's like a really good artist too. She just sort of just whipped that up in a second and put it in there. She does stickers and sells them on Etsy and all sorts of stuff like that. Yes, I cannot help but crow about our daughter. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I think I'm going to call it here at the 45-minute mark. Give my voice a rest, and look forward to sprinting with you guys. I'm going to be going through edits on my book now. I'm pretty stoked to be doing that. I got to read the thing through from beginning to end because I have to interweave everything. Those of you who've been sprinting with us have heard me do that spiel a couple of times. But I write each of my POVs linearly in order, and then in the final book I interleave all the POVs. So I try to do it chronologically as well. But you're very welcome, Victoria, and I will hydrate, Len. Absolutely. All right, folks, it has been a slice. For those of you sprinting, I look forward to seeing you then, either today, tomorrow, Monday. And for those of you coming to our course next Monday on Facebook ads, I look forward to seeing you then. Again, storytellerlab.net, $37 to sign up. The course will be done in less than a month. So if you decide you just want to get the course and then peace out, that's totally cool. It'll only cost you $37. And if you're not doing any of those things, I'll see you next Thursday for Lunch with Mal again. All right. Yeah, I was glad you're able to make it live too, Monique. It's always nice to see you there. All right. Have a fabulous day, a great Friday, and an awesome weekend, everyone. I'll see you later.